I call to order the Housing Authority of the City of Salem. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Commissioner Stapleton, absent. Vice Chair Phillips is absent. Commissioner Gwen.
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez is absent, and sitting in for him tonight is guest counselor Irvin M. Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Hoy.
Here.
Commissioner Nordyke.
Here.
Commissioner Varney.
Here.
Resident Commissioner Villegas.
Here.
Chair Nishioka.
I'm here. Thank you. I have asked our guest counselor to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Since Commissioner Phillips is not with us tonight, I have asked Commissioner Varney to serve as Vice Chair for this meeting. So thank you for doing that. And are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are no additions or deletions.
Great, thank you. And do you have a motion on the consent calendar?
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second. Thank you for that. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Vice Chair Phillips absent. Commissioner Gwen.
We had no public comment. Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez absent. Commissioner Hoy. Aye. Commissioner Nordyke.
Aye.
Commissioner Varney.
Aye.
Commissioner Stapleton's absent. Resident Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
Chair Nishioka.
Aye. I want to make note that we had no public testimony, so I skipped over that. Thank you. All right, now, Vice Chair Varney, to your motion.
The consent calendar this evening consists of the minutes from July 22nd, the draft Salem Housing Authority minutes, and item 3.3A, to adopt resolution number 2311 to authorize Salem Housing Authority to accept funds to support capacity building to create a health-related needs program focused on prevention.
Thank you.
And that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Ms. Utes if there's any comments that she may have on this.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Nicole Utes. I'm the Housing Administrator for Salem Housing Authority, and we at the Housing Authority were very excited to hear that our application was accepted for this. We did hear it was oversubscribed, and so we were on pins and needles since May when we put this application in. Our hopes is that this will help offset some of the costs related to the Homeless Rental Assistance Program and keep our outreach workers out there in the field, as well as hopefully into the future expanding. So these dollars are actually to help us build capacity within our agency with involvement of the Medicaid 115 waiver that is coming to Oregon that can also bill for community health workers. So we're pretty excited that this may be a funding stream for us to help offset some of the resident services costs that are continually growing for the Housing Authority. Many of our properties that once were standard affordable housing projects have become increasingly more challenging for one property manager to handle all the needs that come through the door on a day-to-day basis. So this will help us in providing the software, the technology, sending our staff to get the training that is necessary for us to bill for this Medicaid 115 waiver, and then grow upon that. They will be able to be the trainers, and we can hopefully expand on this program.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Chair, yeah, we already took the roll call for that item prior to the comments. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And there are no public hearings for this and no special orders of business, no information reports. So I will call this meeting adjourned.
Call to order the meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency for the City of Salem for Monday, August 12th, 2024. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Board Member Stapleton is absent. Board Member Nishioka.
I'm here.
Board Member Phillips absent. Board Member Gwynn.
Here.
Board Member Gonzalez is absent. Guest Counselor Brown.
Present.
Board Member Hoy.
Here.
Board Member Nordike.
Here.
Board Member Varney.
Here.
Chair Hoy.
Here. All right. Councilor Nishioka, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, we do. We have the addition of some revisions on 3.3B. Would you like me to read it at this time?
Need a motion first, and then we'll do that.
Yes, we have additions, so I move that we have the additions.
Second.
Motion by Nishioka, second by Gwynn. Councilor, to your motion.
Yes, we have a grant amount that was revised on item 3.3B. And I can read that now or with the full consent calendar.
We can do it with the full consent calendar.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Board Member Board Member Stapleton is absent. Board Member Nishioka.
Aye.
Board Member Phillips absent. Board Member Gwynn.
Aye.
Board Member Gonzalez absent. Board Member Hoy.
Aye.
Board Member Nordike.
Aye.
Board Member Varney.
Aye.
Chair Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. All right. Now, Councilor Nishioka, onto the consent calendar.
Thank you. Let's see if I can do this all. So the consent calendar
We'll start with
consists...
a motion, please. It's all right.
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion by Nishioka, second by Gwynn. Councilor, to your motion.
The consent calendar consists of the minutes from the July 22nd draft Urban Renewal Agency minutes, item 3.3A, 24-314, which is the Boards and Commissions Appointment Committee that met on July 24th, bringing forward recommendations for the Urban Renewal Agency and the North Gateway Urban Renewal Advisory Board and to the West Salem Redevelopment Advisory Board. 3.3B, which is the revised motion, and that is approve to the exceptions, the Fairview Urban Renewal Area Grant for airport fencing and security gate to support the relocation of Metal Innovations Incorporated to the Salem-Willamette Valley Airport. And that concludes the consent calendar.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there further discussion? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Board Member Nishioka.
Aye.
Board Member Phillips absent. Board Member Gwynn.
Aye.
Board Member Gonzalez absent. Board Member Hoy.
Aye.
Board Member Nordike.
Aye.
Board Member Varney.
Aye.
Board Member Stapleton absent. Chair Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. All right. We have no public hearings, no special orders of business. We do have one information report. Does anybody have anything on item 6A? All right. Oh, no, Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you. I was just hoping that Ms. Rutherford might talk a little bit about the streetscape project. I thank you for sending over the map and some information. I was just trying to get a handle on the timeline. That was sort of what I was wondering, if you might speak to that.
Yes, I'm very happy to speak to that. The Downtown Streetscape Project is going to be continuing for about another 9 years for full build-out. So we're budgeting $4 million a year from Riverfront Downtown Urban Renewal Area funding for implementing the streetscape project. That project includes not just the sidewalk improvements, but all the underground infrastructure as well. And to not impact the downtown overwhelmingly at one time, and to keep as many businesses with easy access as we can during this construction, we're phasing it and doing, a few blocks at a time over a longer period of time.
Thank you for this map. I was surprised at how many vaults are around and the work that has to go into that. I'm wondering if you can explain the difference between the vaults and the vaults that are like basement. Like, can you tell me what the difference is?
Sure, yes. So there is no real difference between those. There was a survey that was sent out to property owners as this project was beginning, asking them to identify any special circumstances on their properties. Some identified these as vaults, some identified them as basement vaults. So our engineering team, as they are approaching each block, they're meeting with property owners, they're using these references in this map to flag that they've got a special concern in that area, and then doing ground penetrating radar or site tours to determine kind of what the scope is going to be and what the impacts are going to be, what kind of vault they do have.
Thank you. One other question. I also was surprised at how many sidewalk areas are ODOT. And I'm wondering, will those not be included, or is ODOT participating in this? This is something I don't remember.
So it's ODOT's not participating from a financial perspective. We will need to be working with ODOT to coordinate any improvements that are occurring under their jurisdiction control.
I lastly want to say that I was on the streetscape committee. It feels like years and years ago, and it was, but anyway, I'm really glad to see that these are coming forward.
Thank you. Yeah, this started in 2016 when we did the focus groups. We had about over 60 folks that were downtown residents, business owners, other kinds of stakeholders that were providing input on future use of Riverfront Downtown Urban Renewal Fund. So that was 2016. Then we started 2017, 2018 developing the streetscape plan. And then we had COVID and we delayed implementation because we didn't want to further impact businesses.
Again, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Councillor Gwynn.
I was just going to thank you for that. I didn't see that map, so I wondered if maybe all of us could get a copy of it. And
it was emailed this afternoon, so you may not have seen it yet.
You're
But it was
right.
late this afternoon when it was sent out.
So, and just for clarification for people listening online, there was money that we've approved that's being spent for this streetscape. And so, yeah, I just don't know that it was clear, because at first I was having a hard time following what we were talking about, so.
Any further discussion? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That concludes the urban renewal agenda. We are adjourned. Call to order the meeting of the Salem City Council for Monday, August 12th, 2024. If the recorder will please call the roll.
Councillor Stapleton, absent. Councillor Nishioka.
I'm here.
Councillor Phillips, absent. Councillor Gwynn.
Here.
Councillor Gonzalez, absent. Guest Councillor Brown.
Present.
Councillor Hoy.
Here.
Councillor Nordyke.
Here.
Councillor Varney.
Here.
Mayor Hoy.
Here. All right. Councillor Nishioka, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, we do. I move that we approve the addition or the change. Basically, it would be a deletion, wouldn't it?
Or just revision to the agenda?
Revision to the agenda, which was.
Stand by. We'll get a second and then we'll talk about it. Second.
Second.
Motion by Nishioka, second by Varney. Councillor, to your motion.
Yes, this was because of the absence of 3 council members. The Planning Commission interviews were postponed, and that changed the agenda for the evening.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Counselor Bernie.
Aye.
Counselor Stapleton, absent. Counselor Nishioka.
Aye.
Counselor Phillips, absent. Counselor Gwynn.
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez, absent. Counselor Hoy.
Aye.
Counselor Nordike.
Aye.
Mayor Hoy.
Aye, motion passes. All right, it's now time for council and city manager comments. Do we have any? Councilor Nishioka.
Maybe I'll get this right. Yes, I had a few things that I wanted to say. First, I want to make comment that I'm glad about the new security system for luggage out at the airport, the baggage screening. There's new technology there, so that was great. Even though it's been a break since we've had our last meeting, I think most of us have been very busy. I've got to go to some groundbreakings, open houses, and ribbon cuttings, one of which is the new groundbreaking for the new secure residential treatment facility in my ward just off of Lancaster. And there were elected officials from not only the city, but Marion County out there with celebrating that groundbreaking, looking forward to this mental health facility being built. The Evergreen Open House also happened. Dev Northwest celebrated the opening of 17 new affordable residential units available to veterans experiencing homelessness. And this is up in Ward 1, and it's the repurposed First German Baptist Church in the Grant neighborhood. Mayor Hoy was there, and so was Councilor Stapleton, along with some other state elected officials. So again, that was very nice. I know that others here celebrated the ribbon cutting for the St. Francis addition of 5 places for families to stabilize them while they find permanent housing. St. Francis is a great project, and I was unable to attend the ribbon cutting, but I went back a couple days later to see the units. They're just beautiful, so that was wonderful. Also got to celebrate National Night Out with with Deputy Chief Upkeys and our Deputy City Manager, Scott Archer, and we were the fun bus, and we had fun. It was great. And then I think many of you also went to the Inglewood Park Festival, and that was a very nice event. It was a perfect day, and really enjoyed that. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to our Salem Police Department. There have been a lot of things happening, and I have been hearing a lot of sirens just even in my own home. So thank you for all the hard work that you're doing.
Thank you,
That's it.
Councilor. Guest Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to take a moment just to recognize and follow Councilor Nishioka in regards to National Night Out. I would say we had the best fun with Deputy Chief Ditto, and so kudos to Chief Womack and his entire department. It was just good to be out. It was good to be out, going from community to community, just seeing everyone, seeing a lot of families and children, and just knowing that our presence was felt and known. And so it was good just to be among so many folks that were just having a good time on a fun night. And second, Mr. Mayor, I do want to take time just to honor and reflect on last month. You recognized the passing of the late, great Senator Peter Courtney. And so tonight, I would like to recognize him also. Sitting in this seat means a lot to me personally. For those of you who may not know, Senator Courtney is known by everyone else in the state as Senator Courtney. And when you got a chance to meet him, if you said, "Hello, Senator Courtney," he would say, "Just call me Peter." To me, he was always known as Mr. Peter. And so he was my neighbor, and he was also my mentor and dear friend. And so tonight, sitting in this particular desk and in this seat, and hopefully in the next few months to be sworn in, I cannot do anything without recognizing Mr. Peter and his family, and of course his wife, Miss Margie, and I'm pretty sure she's watching right now. But to think about what it takes just to be someone in this community, to understand diplomacy and being able to reach across both sides of the aisle, that means a lot. And so if you had the opportunity to know Mr. Peter, let me tell you this. He is someone that knew how to go round for round. Whatever you said, he could come back and just top you on top of that. And that man had a great spirit, great energy, and he's deeply missed. There is not a moment that when I go home that I don't think about him. Drive past his house every day. And tonight, I want to recognize him. I want to recognize him not only as a mentor and a friend, but just his legacy. When I think about what it's going to take to be a city councilor, he was an advisor for me, and I can still hear his voice in my head. And one of the last things that he said to me before he transitioned, he said, well, Irvin, whatever you do, you got to make us proud. You got to continue the work. And so one of the things I do want to do, not only as a citizen, but also as a councilor-elect, is to do the work. And doing the work means to show up. And he would say showing up is half the battle. And so tonight I just want to recognize the fact that we have lost a great lion. We have lost someone that was near and dear to so many of us. And my hope and my desire and my prayer is that everyone that's here and those of us that are elected officials is that we would remember those individuals who laid down a great foundation, and hopefully we'll be able to pick up that baton and continue to run forward. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Guest Councilor Brown. And yeah, Senator Courtney sat in that very chair, in that very desk when he was a member of the Salem City Council. And he never missed a meeting the entire time he was on the Salem City Council. Never missed a meeting. He had a perfect attendance in all those years. So it's quite a legacy.
And I would say this, when we attended his funeral a couple weeks ago, it was a packed house. And had he been there to see it, he probably would have told us, go get a job. You know, do whatever you need to do, just don't be here. Because he was not the type of person that really, he didn't like the limelight or the attention or anything. But it was definitely a packed out house. And I saw a lot of folks were there. But again, it was just an opportunity, Mr. Mayor, just to recognize someone who understood what it takes to represent not just a few voices, but for all voices. And he really made a claim when it came to recognizing veterans, and yours truly is one of those, but also for children and those individuals who struggle with mental health and illnesses. He was someone that understood what it took to represent every voice, to make sure it was heard, and to see every face to make sure that it was seen. And so tonight, I'm just very thankful and proud that I am not only seen by him, but I was known by him and had the opportunity to be mentored by him. So thank you again, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there further comments? Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, one and all, and good evening, Guest Councilor Dr. Brown. Good to see you. So it's been a busy time for me as well. I attended the St. Francis Family Housing ribbon cutting ceremony. St. Francis has been one of our many recipients of support from the city of Salem to help move the needle on reducing homelessness and preventing homelessness. So thanks to the leadership of Kim Lemon and the entire team at St. Francis, they have a brand new facility right next to their existing shelter and housing support that will just help them increase the amount of affordable housing for low-income families who just need a little bit of help. When our nonprofit partners step up, the entire city does better. And I love seeing those things take place, and I'm really happy to be there to support them and help shine a light on what they do. I also attended National Night Out, and it was another great National Night Out. Been to several of those over the years. And I just love the fact that the community finds opportunities to just chat, get to know each other, let the kids play, people bake cookies, people bring treats. Our law enforcement comes out to help show a softer side, if you will, of what it means to be a law enforcement officer. And speaking of which, it was also my great pleasure to participate in the Shop with a Cop event. This is an event put on by a nonprofit known as Believe in Your Community. And they had, I would say, hundreds of children and families descend upon South Salem Fred Meyer on South Commercial. And my nonprofit was one of those participating groups. we coordinated the attendance of 25 youth in foster care to be present for the Shop with a Cop event. And it accomplishes a lot of objectives for this event to take place. First of all, it helps kind of demystify and take away some of the scariness that young people might have around an officer in uniform. And I would also point out that many of the law enforcement officers who were present, which included Salem PD, including our very own Deputy Chief Aguilar and many others. It also included law enforcement officers from Mount Angel Police Department, Kaiser Police Department, Staten, Almsville, Marion County Sheriff's Office, and so on. Chemeketa Public Safety was also in attendance. So I love the fact that many of these officers were donating their time. They were there on their day off to help support the community engagement piece of being in law enforcement. So I really want to say kudos to Chief Womack and his entire team for being a prominent fixture at these Shop with a Cop events. I think they do a lot to create goodwill in our community. The other event, we recently hosted Congresswoman Andrea Salinas for a back to school supply drive. And that was another fantastic event. I would just encourage, you may see a lot of different organizations like Boys and Girls Club and others who are all organizing back to school supply drives. And I encourage folks to reach out to groups like Boys and Girls Club and other local nonprofits whose focus here is all about academic success for all of our students. And I think that is crucially important as we continue to struggle with student mental health. What can we do to ensure that these kids have literally the supplies they need, the tools they need for a successful school year? So there are lots of different ways to participate in school supply drives. My nonprofit is just one of them, but I want to really direct your attention to the other nonprofits who participate in this work. And then last but not least, I too attended the Inglewood Forest Festival. That was my first time to this one. I hadn't been to the Inglewood Forest Festival before. I saw our city manager pull up just as I was heading out. And I really want to say congratulations to the event organizers, everyone who volunteered their time at the event, all the city staff who were present at that event as well. And that's yet another opportunity for us to support our local makers, creators, artists, artisans, and so on. So it's been a busy month, but a productive one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there further comments? Councilor Hoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I keep bumping into Councilor Nishioka at events, so her list and mine are pretty close together. I would beg to differ, though, on the most fun on the National Night Out, because Gracie's ice cream truck was parked on East Lake Drive in South Salem, and everyone received free ice cream, thanks to neighbor Lori Haraldson out there. So that was a pretty fun thing. And to watch Deputy Aguilar drive up from the last neighborhood where kids were allowed to throw water balloons at their cars, I thought that was pretty awesome, and she still had one stuck in her rack on top there, so that was fun to see. The Inglewood Forest Festival is just absolutely magical. Such a simple and wonderful event. Lynn Takata does a beautiful job. I did have, and the National Night after the night out with the North Lancaster Neighborhood Association just does a great job. Dancers, music, food, it was, and booths, informational booths. It was very well done once again. Let's see, the last thing, was last Tuesday night, my husband and I were privileged to attend the Chemeketa Community College's presentation of Theater Under the Stars. And the performance was Oliver, and they set up and tear down in the same day, and the show was amazing. The orchestra was fabulous. The vocals were amazing. I just was blown away. So that'll happen every Tuesday night. So tomorrow, the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th at 8 p.m. at the Jerry Frank Amphitheater. Lastly, on a personal note, my mom has been dealing with health issues since January. And we're finding joy in the little things. And as I left her this afternoon, I was challenged to mention the fact that we all need plenty of fiber in our diet. So that's for you, Mom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Varney.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. I too attended National Night Out. I didn't go down to the police station over in West Salem. I tend to just go out and join. I think we had 18 different ones. The first one I went to down at the West Salem Park, I ran into Officer Salazar, and he was there with Leslie, who works with victims of domestic violence. And there were a few people there and a lot of pizzas. And then the next one I went to was at Girard Park, which is a private park. It's up in the, what I call the President's neighborhood, with all the last names of the presidents. And they were having this fantastic cornhole tournament. So I just wanted to say with National Night Out, it gives us a chance to have fun with neighbors, talk about stuff, and represent our city there, and anyway, it's a great experience. The other thing I wanted to point out that hasn't been on anybody's list is the USA Softball 10B, 12B Western Fast Pitch National Championship. And Mayor Hoy was there for the opening ceremony, and I was there at Wallace Marine Park for the last couple of days of the tournament. And it was fantastic. Brings back a lot of good memories, not only of me playing softball, but then, of course, my daughter and coaching and everything else. And it's amazing seeing those 10 and 12-year-olds out there and what they can do. And we haven't hosted a tournament like this for, I think it was 15 years. So really special, and I look forward to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that, Counselor. Yeah, it was the largest tournament we've ever hosted. There were over 700 softball players here, 700 10 to 12-year-olds and their families, and they were here for 8 days, I think, or 8 or 9 days. So it was, and I know they had at least one rain day. It was during that stretch where we had some rain, so I think they got some opportunities to participate in the local economy. I was sure to mention that we don't have a sales tax, and so they should all do their back to school shopping while they're here. And but I'm just now getting my hearing back, I think. 700 screaming 10 to 12-year-olds. It's quite a thing to behold when you're down in the amphitheater and they're all screaming. That was something. I'll get to you in just one second, Counselor. Also, I just wanted to mention, since I have the mic, last week I was privileged to welcome 10 students from our sister city in Kawagoe, Japan. They were here, spent a week with host families here in the city, and our own Lisa Anderson Ogilvie was hosted 2 boys from Japan. I think she had a great time. It was a really great experience. We had them here in chambers. They sat at all of your desks and got to use the microphones and ask questions about city government. We got to meet with a police officer out on Peace Plaza. They really had a great time there, and then they went to the Fire Station 1, and I think they had a great time. So it's a really great event, and that's all volunteers we have that run our sister city organization here in Oregon. In Japan, it's all run by the city government, but here it's all done by volunteers. So it's just a great community event tying our 2 cities together. So I was really happy to participate in that. And I like that you all thought that you had the fun vehicle for National Night Out. That's adorable. But Chief Womack and I and a few other folks, I think we went to 5 different events, and I think in every corner of the city. And I'm going to have to say the highlight was the cake from the konditorei that we had out in Jerry Frank's old neighborhood, where it's, I guess, a tradition that they have konditorei cake, and it was amazing. So, yeah. Anyway, Councilor Gwynn.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap up the whole National Night Out. So I was privileged. So I had actually told my husband, I said, I signed up to do a ride along, but I had a presentation that I was not ready for the following day. So I had texted him and said, I'm not going to stay. I'm just going to make an appearance, and I'll go to like the first one, and then I'll bail. And then I got down there and got assigned to Deputy Chief Aguilar, and so I immediately texted my husband and said, never mind, I'm staying. So, because I just love her, so I said, I'm staying the whole time. And in my ward was Lori Harrelson's the ice cream truck, but we also had Mark Fink's property is in my ward, and they had the Capitals, is that what it is? So they had a live band, all of them were awesome. Oh, and then on Bridgeport, that's the one where every year they do hundreds and hundreds of water balloons in these big Costco tins, and then they zip tie them shut so that the kids can have a water balloon fight at the end. Well, Deputy Chief heard that they were going to do that, so she walked over to the organizer and she said, would the kids like to throw the water balloons at the police car? And she was like, oh my, yes. So she said, okay, we'll go down the street and then I'll drive by slowly and the kids can throw water balloons at the police car. So I said, let me out. So I took, because I wanted to take a video.
Because you wanted to throw water.
No,
Be
no.
honest.
So I have a video that I will post later of the kids throwing water balloons at the police car. So,
Right.
so ours really was the best.
Thank you. Are there any other? I think we all have made comments tonight, so I think we must be good. All right. Moving on, we have nobody signed up under public comment item number 2, so that takes us to the consent calendar. Councilor Nishioka.
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion by Nishioka, second by Gwen. Councilor, to your motion.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. The consent calendar consists of minutes from July 22nd, 2024 council meeting, and item 3.3A, which is to authorize the city manager to execute the second amendment to the ground lease with Watt EV Salem Incorporated for real property located at the Salem Willamette Valley Airport. Item 3.3B, authorize the city manager to execute the ground lease amendment and sublease amendment with the aviation property Northwest for real property at the Salem Willamette Valley Airport. That was the revision. And 3.3C, authorize the city manager to execute another ground lease with Hangar 2 LLC for property located at the Salem Willamette Valley Airport. And item 3.3D, appointments to the Community Police Review Board and Salem Public Library Advisory Board. And that concludes the consent calendar.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there discussion? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Stapleton absent. Councilor Nishioka?
Aye.
Councilor Phillips absent. Councilor Gwynn?
Aye.
Councilor Gonzalez absent. Councilor Hoy?
Aye.
Councilor Nordyke?
Aye.
Councilor Varney?
Aye.
Mayor Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes. All right. We are now on to public hearings. I see Julie Hansen approaching the microphone.
The Salem City Council will now conduct a public hearing for the purpose of considering a revised city-initiated petition to vacate the northern 13 feet of the right-of-way for First Street Northwest, east of the Murlark Street Northwest. The criteria applicable for the proposal are set forth in SRC 255.065B6. Testimony must be directed toward the identified criteria or other criteria the person believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue prior to the close of the hearing, in person or in writing, or failure to provide statements or evidence with sufficient specificity to provide the parties and the City Council an opportunity to respond to that issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. The hearing will begin with the staff presentation, followed by testimony from the following. So the city is also the applicant, and they have 10 minutes. The applicable neighborhood association is limited to 5 minutes. Other interested parties are limited to 3 minutes, and the city, who is the applicant, may have up to 5 minutes rebuttal testimony limited to issues raised during the public testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hansen.
Good evening. My name is Julie Hansen. I'm the Transportation Planning Manager with the Public Works Department. And I am here to talk about this proposed right-of-way vacation. See if I can get this to work. I guess not. Does the down arrow work for changing slides? Yeah. Should. I guess you just have to push it really hard. Okay, so I guess first I also want to enter the staff report into the record while I'm thinking about it. This map here shows the area that we are talking about. It is over in West Salem, behind the Goodwill. This might seem familiar to some of you because we did have another public hearing on this in March of 2023. So this is a revised proposal that's before you tonight. As a reminder, this is what the right-of-way currently looks like. It is mostly undeveloped. It does have a paved surface down the middle, but no other improvements in it, at least not on the transportation side. There is a sewer line and a water line within this right-of-way. So as a reminder, this area, First Street, doesn't serve a whole lot of transportation circulation benefits. Back in 2015, the City Council vacated the eastern portion of this right-of-way as part of the Goodwill development. And then last year, we were before you with a proposed vacation of this section here. That vacation left Melinda, let's see if my mouse will work here. Not very well. Left Melinda here in the middle as a cul-de-sac, and then the conditions of that vacation were to maintain access for vehicles to the backside of the properties on Edgewater, and also to maintain access for the sanitary sewer line as well as the water line that exists within that right-of-way. Subsequent to Council's public hearing and the approval of this vacation, staff worked with the adjoining property owner to the north who is looking to develop, and we worked together to try to figure out how to meet those conditions, and it became obvious that it wasn't practical. There are some topography issues and some other issues with continuing to provide access given that right-of-way vacation scenario. As a result, we are before you tonight with a revised area of vacation. So this is a much smaller area. This would be to vacate just the northern 13 feet of that section of street and maintain the right-of-way through there for accessing those businesses as well as the utilities. That southern section would then, through adjoining development, be improved to an alley standard. So with that, the recommendation is to approve this vacation of the northern 13 feet of right-of-way for First Street Northwest. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
We do have one person signed up for public testimony. I think we'll take that first, and then we'll come back to you, Ms. Hanson, for questions. So we have Brittany Randall. Come on up. As a reminder, you have 3 minutes. Yeah, be sure and introduce yourself for the record.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Brittany Randall with Brand Land Use. For the record, my address is 1720 Liberty Street Southeast. And I am just here to support staff. We agree with the recommendation. And also here to answer questions if you have them about what might happen on the site to the north. So that's why I'm here.
Do you represent the property owner?
I do.
Which
yes,
one?
Clutch Industries to the north, yes.
To the north, okay. So not to the south.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Randall? Councilor Hoy.
What is going to happen to the north?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. We are going to the plan is now to put a permanent structure that would support food trucks. And when we presented this idea to the West Salem Neighborhood Association, it was probably the first thing I've ever presented to them that they were like, yes. So it felt like a win. I was really excited. Clutch has been looking for a place to put food trucks where it would make sense and be supportive. And, you know, we have this beautiful, active 2nd Street now, and it's like we just need to jazz it up a little and bring the people out. So I don't know if you've walked down 2nd Street yet, but it's beautiful. So good job, Tori. Although I'm going to say it now on the record, I didn't see you out there doing any of the work. So it was good, though.
Any other questions for Ms. Randall? Thank you for your testimony. All right, now we'll go back to questions for staff. Do we have any questions for staff? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. Councilor Nishioka, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move to approve the vacation of the northern 13 feet of the right-of-way for 1st Street Northwest.
Second.
Motion by Nishioka, second by Barney. Councilor, to your motion.
Yes, as we've all seen, this looks like a very good choice vacation, and I know that Councilor Stapleton is also for this. This is in her ward, and I just wanted to make sure that you all knew that she was also in agreement with this. I think that it improves the infrastructure there, and then West Salem will have another area for food trucks, it sounds like.
Further discussion? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Counselor Nishioka.
Aye.
Counselor Phillips absent. Counselor Gwynn.
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez absent. Counselor Hoy.
Aye.
Counselor Nordike.
Aye.
Counselor Varney.
Aye.
Counselor Stapleton absent. Mayor Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, we're on to item 5A, special order of business for a transfer of appropriation within the city's fiscal year 2025 budget. And right in front of me, I'm looking all over the room for you. There you are, right in front of me. Mr. Eggleston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Josh Eggleston, Chief Financial Officer. Going to give a brief overview of this request. As you're likely aware, the 2022 Safety and Livability Bond included funds to replace the city's Enterprise Resource Planning software, ERP. The current software is outdated and support is ending. A request for proposal has been issued and actually closes this Friday. This project represents a great opportunity to streamline city processes and also a significant undertaking. Current staff do not have the capacity to take on this project without additional support, which brings us to this request. 3 of the requested positions will backfill staff in order to allow tenured staff to focus on the project. The remaining position will focus on management and support of the project. The costs for the new positions or the positions they will be backfilling that are directly related to the project will be reimbursed by the 2022 Safety and Livability Bond. Happy to address any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions? Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. Yes, Mr. Eggleston, would you be kind enough to just help explain the software that is coming, that is replacing clearly outdated software? What all it will encompass?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of it is a little unknown at this point. We haven't received the request for proposals, but at a bare minimum, it'll replace the current Oracle e-business suite that's used for financial management of the city. So any financial process you might think of, including accounts payable, accounts receivable, general ledger. It also includes the HR functions, so HR information systems, payroll processing, all those core functions that all businesses, including the city, need to operate. We're also looking for some target solutions. I'm trying to think of what the other training module, as well as some budgeting software. So there's a few different pieces, depending on the softwares that are proposed. Not all of them might be included, but at bare minimum, those core software pieces, modules will be included.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Councilor Nishioka, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mayor Hoy. I move to approve, excuse me, I'm reading the wrong one. I move to adopt the resolution number 2024-39, authorizing a transfer of $410,380 in appropriations within the city's fiscal year 2025 budget, as well as adding 4 full-time employees for the Enterprise Resources Planning software implementation.
Second.
Motion by Nishioka, second by Barney. Councilor, to your motion.
Yes, well, certainly we definitely have to update software that is getting old, and these are critical aspects of the city that need to have this new software. This is, to implement these enterprise resources is going to be critical, and we definitely also need staffing to be able to manage it. So this is certainly a motion that we should carry forward.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion? Councilor Hoy.
May I ask a question of Josh? Is that where questions are going right now?
We can go back to questions. Yeah.
Is that okay? Because I know folks will ask me, could these positions employ other people in different departments? Or was this money specifically directed to this use?
Yeah, appreciate the question. So it's the request of you this evening is for contingency to get the budget authority. The majority of the costs will actually be with the 2022 safety and livability bond. So while they'll live in the general fund, there's going to be some pretty significant reimbursement for all the direct project costs. There's some things, onboarding, training, things like that we can't charge to the project, but the most of it will be bond project funding.
That helps, thanks.
Further discussion? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Counselor Phillips absent. Counselor Gwynn?
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez absent. Counselor Hoy?
Aye.
Counselor Nordike?
Aye.
Counselor Varney?
Aye.
Counselor Stapleton absent. Counselor Nishioka?
Aye.
Mayor Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes. All right, we're now on to item 5B, preliminary city quarter 4 financial report. Mr. Eggleston, are you up again?
I am, and at the podium this time. I have a few brief slides to walk you through the quarter 4 financial report for the city of Salem for fiscal year 2024. Just a reminder, on June 24th, during the adoption of the city budget, there was a motion for quarterly reports to be delivered to the city council within 45 days of the end of each quarter that include actuals and budget for general fund departments. So that's what we're doing. We're bringing it back to city council. A little bit of context on quarterly reports. Historically, they've been delivered to the budget committee. I looked back in the files today, and for at least 20 years, they've been delivered to the budget committee. So this is a long-time practice. We did meet with the finance committee and added a couple new features for the quarterly reports. And then we're always open to feedback or different things if you're interested in certain pieces of information. The few highlights I wanted to cover, this first cover page, if you look at the financial report, shows one of the new components. I also want to stress that the results are preliminary and fiscal year 2024 activity is continuing to be posted. So this was pulled at the end of July. We've had a couple weeks since then with more activity, and then activity will continue to get posted here for the next month or so. And then there's a possibility of changes up until the audit is complete, likely in November or December. For this, we were looking at an indicator snapshot that you could see for the fund types. So in green, it's a positive impact. A yellow is a negative impact, and then a red or maybe pink, it's a significant negative impact, greater than 10%. And then those fund types, we have governmental funds, proprietary funds, capital funds, and debt funds. And to break that down just a little bit more, governmental funds are things like the general fund, special revenue funds. Proprietary funds, that's going to be the utility, Willamette Valley Communication Center, emergency medical services, the funds that operate more like a business. Capital funds are construction. We just talked about the safety and livability bond. Those funds are in the capital funds. And then the debt funds, this includes pension obligation and then the actual debt service for bonds. It includes the year-over-year resources, year-over-year expenses, and change in fund balance. Probably the most significant indicator for this body, the year-over-year expenses. If you see a high trend there, that's a concern. and then the change in fund balance. If you see a negative number there, that could be concerning if it's not a planned decline in fund balance. And then specific fund watch list. So for quite a few years, we have funds that we informally term as being on the watch list. So these are ones that we're watching carefully, spending a little bit more time on monitoring for various reasons. Some of them are just have lots of activity, or some of them have declining revenues. In this case, the general fund's at the top of the list, followed by transportation services, airport, risk self-insurance, and downtown parking. And I don't want to alarm anyone. The preliminary numbers included in this report were pulled at the end of July and showed a use of $9.5 million in fund balance for the general fund. Just for context, the fiscal year 2025 budget assumed a use of $3.9 million for fiscal year 2024. And as of yesterday, the use is 6.2. So even in the last couple of weeks, significant revenue has come in. We expect that to continue over the next couple months. We have a full month of city operations fee that gets posted, about $1.1 million, that'll offset that use of fund balance. One of the interesting things about Q4 is it's really hard to pull this early. So since we still have activity coming, property taxes, franchise fees, state shared revenues, we continue to receive those through August, sometimes even September, which is why you'll see preliminary all over this report. And it'll be finalized, like I said, when the audit's issued. We are continuing to project getting closer to that $3.9 million number. A couple other sections of the report. This shows general fund revenues, 5-year trend, actual to budget, year-over-year changes. Again, these are preliminary numbers. You'll be tired of me here saying that. But I will say some of these are very close. Others there's significant deviations. Property taxes are very predictable. If you look at that 5-year trend, you'll see it very evenly marching up. That's the benefit of our property tax system. It's also one of the downsides. But the actual to budget at 99.9% is not unexpected. And you can go through the full section in the quarterly report, but just breaking down that it does show that for each general fund revenue. The general fund expenditures by department. This lists all the organizational units, departments that we budget for in the general fund, broken down by category, and then it shows the actual budget and the year-over-year change. Significant numbers might represent an organizational shift. I'll note that top number for the city manager's office. That's really because of the organizational shift and positions moving from city manager's office to community services. That's why you see that year-over-year decrease in expenses. Similarly, the year-over-year increases, like up there at the top for mayor and council, that represents a significant increase, largely related to the federal lobbying that's been happening, that addition in fiscal year 2024. And finally, this just shows four funds. All the other city funds are listed there. There's a lot of information in these little snippets, but for example, transportation services, you can see the expenses broken down by category, the actuals to budget, the year-over-year change, and then the 5-year trend for fund resources. A couple dates. These are the dates we're anticipating to get you the next 4 quarter reports for fiscal year 2025. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Josh. Are there any questions? Councilor Varney.
Thank you. I don't actually have a question. I'm just really impressed, and thank you for incorporating so many of the suggestions we talked about at the Finance Committee. I think the red really helps. I mean, to see things instead of just a list of figures. Yeah, and the stoplight chart is very helpful, and I just think it provides a good view of the current status. And so thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad to hear that.
Are there additional questions or comments? Councilor Gwynn.
So my question really goes back to the livability bond. And so city budgeting is incredibly complex, right? And so you said earlier that those positions that we just approved are coming out of the livability bond, but I could have swore, going back in my memory, that as we've talked about the livability bond, it was drilled into our heads, this is projects, not people, projects, not people. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah, don't worry, you're not the only one that's had that question. I've answered it before. It's a really good question, and I think it goes back to if you think of public works engineering, the vast majority of their time is coded to projects. So their time is specifically expensed to individual projects and capitalized. In this case, it's not engineering running the project. It's city staff in the general fund, internal services that are running the project, that are part of that project team. So just like Brian's staff, billable hours to projects, these staff will have billable hours to the bond project for the software implementation. So it can't pay for general parks, library services, but it can pay for specific costs related to the project. And that's where we have to be really careful, because it's not a budgeting rule. It's accounting principles, and our auditors look for that kind of thing. So we couldn't say, hey, 100% of this person is being charged to the bond. They have to actually code it on their time card that they're working on that project.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there further questions? Councilor Hoy.
Just thank you. This helps a lot.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Makes me feel like we're eating the elephant one bite at a time. So thank you very much.
Any other questions? Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. Again, as Councilor Varney said, I think I appreciated bringing this to the Finance Committee and listening to, best ways to present this so that we could see it in instead of just a long list, sort of graphically show the changes that are taking place. So again, I just thank your department for all the work that they do, and also answering the same question that Councilor Gwynn just asked to me. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions? Councilor Varney.
Thank you. Another comment. It's really hard, unsettling to see just the decrease in our general fund working capital. And a lot of it, personnel expenditures drive a lot of that. And there's a lot of that we don't have any control over, really. I mean, when it comes to the medical benefits, the collective bargaining agreements, PERS, and then, of course, we had the fire department overtime that we needed. So there are a lot of things that contribute to that. And I just wanted to comment that, these are all things that we need to do to provide the services that people expect. And it is expensive, and costs keep going up. So thank you.
Are there further comments or questions? All right, thanks, Josh. There's no motion on this, it's just information only. So we'll move on to information reports. We'll go through these one at a time. Let me know if you have anything on any one of them. Anything on item 6A? Councilor Gwynn?
I just wanted to say, Celine, welcome.
6B? 6C, 6D, 6E, 6F. That concludes the information reports. We have no ordinances, so no first readings, no second readings. So we're on to public comment for items not listed on the agenda. First up is Patty Tipton. Patty, if you'll come on up, introduce yourself, be sure and hit that button so the green light comes on. and you have 3 minutes. The yellow light will start to flash when you have just a minute left, and the red light will come on when your time's expired.
All this stuff.
Just
I'm not technical.
You're all set.
And I have some pictures I wanted to show you. They're on, can you please bring up the pictures, please? Thank you.
and then just speak close to the mic.
Okay. For those that don't know me, I'm Patty Tipton. I've been a long-time member of this community since I was 5, so I didn't have much choice at 5. And I've also been chair of Lansing neighborhood for over 20 years on Parks Board and Parks Foundation, and I've also supported a certain park, Lansing Neighborhood Park. And it's on Hawthorne, so if you ever drive down Hawthorne, a little tiny park there, that's one of them. And Livingston is the other one. We started out with nothing on that park when it was just absolutely nothing. And now it's a full-blown park. For over 10 years, I have been wanting to do something that I could not find the funding or the time for, and this year I am doing it. This is out of my own heart and my own passion. I want to paint the fence at Lansing Park, and if you could pull up the other pictures, please. This fence has never been painted, and the other fence has been painted so many times, I can't tell you the name of the colors that are involved. But they have graffitied for many years. And on the 17th of this Saturday morning at 8 a.m., I have purchased the paint. We got donuts and coffee waiting for anybody who shows up. And all I'm requesting is people to come with their paint clothes and their paintbrushes to please help us improve this park and make it, it's going to be medium blue at the end. We have to paint the unpainted fence white, according to Jennifer Keller of Parks, Salem Parks. And then we can paint it any color after that. I told her medium blue, and she says, oh, that's a nice color. But we also want to match the same color to the other fence. So all I'm asking is please come at 8 a.m. and help us paint this fence and improve the look of this park so that when you drive down Hawthorne Street, you can smile and say, yes, that neighborhood does care about their park. So please, come. That's all.
Thank you, Patty. We really appreciate you coming down. Everybody has a flyer on their desk outlining it, so hope people will show up. Anybody in the community is welcome to, who can come and help, right?
Yes.
Saturday morning at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Awesome. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up is Mike Fenning.
Good evening, I'm Mike Fenning, and I am more or less live at McKay Park. My fence attaches to it last weekend. This is on public safety. This last weekend, I had 30 kids, 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning, drinking, smoking pot, playing loud music. My wife called 911 because of it, and 25 minutes later, still nobody was there. So I called again, a little frustrated, and I always say, understand, understaffed. So I asked the lady, the call taker, I says, well, can you get Marion County over here respond? She says, well, this is the city of Salem. I said no more, because we are in Marion County, so it shouldn't matter, city of Salem, Park, whatever, we're in Marion County. But this is something I put on the Salem Crime News, and I'm serious about this, and a lot of people agreed with me. I think the city of Salem residents should get together and sue the city manager, mayor, city council, and the police chief. The reason is that we don't have enough police officers to cover the city for crimes, and no response when called. The city council voted, some councilors, eliminate 5 positions to save money. The general fund should be used for public safety, not helping the church at the park. Sell the property the city owns that bought in the last few years, quit giving out grants, quit funding new things for parks until you can get this crime under control. It's time for the citizens who pay taxes to get the respect we deserve. And I think that's true. I had over 500 likes on that comment because I'm frustrated. I took that Citizens Police Academy last fall, and I'm still frustrated. I understand what police do and everything, and how they try to do things, but when the police officers' hands are tied because they can't do anything, like, you know, the homeless, you know, we got them all around Sunnyview and Lancaster. Guys parked right in front of Target there on Lancaster, camped out there for the longest time. Nothing's done. I see drugs being done on that corner. Same with the park. I saw a gal light up her meth pipe. She just looks at me like it's no big deal. But my understanding, the police can't do anything until September 1st. Now that's up to the legislature, whoever decided that, but that was ridiculous. So my thing is, the general fund needs to be used for the police and fire, not anything else, so we can get hiring more people. Sell the property we don't need. Quit funding all these things that we don't need. You just voted $410,000 for something to go somewhere. Let's get the public safety the city needs and quit funding all these other things until we get this straight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have nobody else signed up for public testimony, so we are adjourned.